What's up, fight fans? Mr. Mustache here. We had Rafael Dos Anjos, Vicente Luque just ended a few minutes ago with Vicente Luque defeating RDA by unanimous decision in a fight where exactly what I thought was going to play out played out, where RDA really tried to mix it up, utilize his wrestling, but Vicente was just the stronger guy and more than willing to fight his fight. Vicente went out there, and as RDA tried to implement his own game plan, Vicente's like, all right, let's go for it. And it wasn't the most exciting matchup. You didn't really see Luque unload too much on RDA. You saw him kind of hesitant in the early rounds, but as he was able to build confidence and realize he wasn't in terrible danger in the wrestling department, he was able to utilize his strength and just kind of out wrestle and outwork RDA in most of the rounds and just kind of outgrind him. And things got a little bit interesting in the fifth round where Luque seemed to be gassed in like the last minute there, and RDA was starting to capitalize on that and kind of ended up on top and was doing a little bit of damage, and Luque kind of held on for dear life in the last 15 seconds there, and it was kind of interesting. You kind of just saw him completely gas out, and you saw RDA kind of take his energy in a way. But it was a good performance by Vicente, a good comeback to get himself back into the win column. As for RDA, 38 years old, fighting up in a weight class against bigger, stronger, tougher guys who are just as good as you, as highly skilled as you. It's just time is kind of sort of passing him on, and 2023 has kind of been the year of passing the torch when it comes to a lot of these older vets. So, he shows he can go out there and still be competitive against a very formidable, tough, durable opponent like Vicente Luque. So I don't really see RDA retiring anytime soon. I see him getting maybe different types of matchups, kind of like how we had before with the Brian Barberina matchup. He's kind of in that category in his career so far. And as for Vicente Luque, I expect him to just go back to the drawing board, take a little bit of time off, go out there and fight up and move on to the next. So I'm really excited what's going to happen. I know that the UFC is going to want to put him back into big fights. I'm sure they're paying him a lot of money. But all in all, it was a very, very solid performance by Vicente. He was a little hesitant at first, had to get his feet back in there a little bit, and I think it was smart for him to go out there, grind out 25 minutes, and get his confidence and a little bit of that rust off after having 2 losses in a row like that. So very happy for Vicente. Can't wait to see what he's going to do moving forward. In the co-main event, which I totally forgot was the co-main event, because even in my previous videos on my Roundtree video, I labeled that as the co-main event, totally thinking it was, but whatever. Cub Swanson defeated Hakeem Dawodu via controversial unanimous decision 29-28, where I personally thought he lost rounds 1 and 2, but even after talking with my buddy, that first round was pretty close. Cub did land a couple solid punches. He was moving forward in that first round. So I can definitely see how you can give the first and third round to Cub, but even Cub himself thought that he lost the fight. It was close. Neither guy really did anything decisive to steal it. So I can see why Cub could get the victory, because they were kind of canceling each other out. It did seem like Hakeem was landing the more volume of shots, but I guess I don't really hate the decision all that much. But at the time, I was upset. But after talking with one of my buddies, A-Bomb, he kind of convinced me a little bit that Cub could have won the first round. I'll go back and watch it again, but Cub won via controversial decision. Also, 38 years old, in the twilight of his career. Almost looked like he was going to retire there for a second, but he did not. I'm not really sure what he's going to do moving forward. There's a lot of different matchups for him at featherweight. Maybe even, I don't know, man. I'd like to see him fight like a guy like Lando Venata. That would be a really, really cool matchup. And we'll be talking a little bit more about Lando Venata too here in a little bit, because he was supposed to be fighting Mike Breeden and the whole thing with Terrence McKinney. We'll be talking about that in a few minutes. But for Hakeem Dawodu, he just went out there and he was landing good strikes. He was very good defensively against Cub. But neither guy was really able to go out there and put on solid combinations. They would both land a good shot, throw a couple good things, but it was just not until Cub decided to get it to the ground into the third round, which, a lot of people would say, why didn't he do that? Why didn't Cub go for the takedown earlier? I think at his age, he wants to show, I think his ego's, he's fighting with his ego a little bit. He wants to go out there that he can still go out there and stand with these guys and trade with these guys, because that's kind of what he's known for doing, even though he is a black belt in jiu-jitsu and all that. But he's really known for the wild, free-flowing, striking type of fighter. And I think at his age, he wants to show that he can still do that. Yeah, he still has the wrestling in his back pocket, and he showed that in the third round. And if he wants to go out there and get victory, sure, go do that. But I think that he wants to go out there and have fun. That seems to be the mentality of Cub Swanson. So I think that's kind of why he chose to do that. And then once the third round happened, he's like, all right, now I need to fight a little smarter here if I want to go out there and get the victory. Because he's a loss or two away from that kind of being it. He's 38. So I thought that was smart. If he got it to the ground a little sooner, we probably could have seen a finish, because it showed just that little bit of time on the ground. It showed how much better he was, the levels it was on the ground, on the difference between Hakeem Dawodu and Cub Swanson. But for both guys, Dawodu's kind of found himself in a little bit of inconsistency, strange waters within the featherweight division. But he's a powerful guy, powerful striker. He can go out there and beat a lot of dudes. Back to the drawing board. Didn't seem like either guy took a lot of injuries. But like I said, Cub Swanson, I could see him taking on like a Lando Venata next. I know Lando's, I think, at lightweight, but I can see Lando going back to featherweight as well. Next up, Khalil Roundtree decimating Chris Daukaus 2 minutes, 40 seconds to the very first round. And like, I was nervous for Chris, especially with his walkout. He just didn't look good. He looked hungry. Like, he literally looked like he was just miserable. He looked like he was in pain, probably had a bad weight cut, didn't look very healthy, did not look like he wanted to be there at all. Looked like there was a lot of self-doubt, a little bit of anxiety going into that walkout, and rightfully so, right? I mean, he's had some losses in a row. He's struggled a little bit at heavyweight, which is why he had to go down to 205, and I think that was the right move to go to 205. But I think maybe he should have taken a little bit more time to cut the weight, and B, not go against a guy like Khalil Roundtree for your first fight, right? Khalil used to be a 300-pound human being before he started training. So, like, he's also cut that weight. So it's very similar. Like, I know that he wasn't fighting at heavyweight and moved to light heavyweight. Once he lost the weight before he was training, then he got down to his natural size, which is where he's always been. The dude just, you can see all, But man, Khalil Roundtree's a killer, man. I've been a fan of this guy 5-6 years. That fight Gokhan Saki made me just like an instant super fan of Khalil Roundtree. Not including the Eric Anders performance he had about 3 years ago. The guy, I mean, when he's on, he is one of the best in the world. One of the most devastating, violent fighters within the entire UFC. And if it wasn't for that weird loss that he had against Marcin Pracino, sorry, made me stutter a little bit. Before he had that weird decision loss, I mean, the guy should be fighting like a 6 or 7 fight win streak. I mean, he looks better and better every time out. Got power. The straights. I remember even thinking, like, he was throwing like these looping punches at Chris. I was like, bro, if you just straighten it out just a little bit, you're going to find, and like, as I was thinking it, he fucking threw it. Beautiful, beautiful straight down the middle. Beautiful left. Anybody who took that shot was going down. Chris, yeah, it's like 4 in a row now, all knockouts. But I think if he just takes like a year off, focuses on his health, his fitness, and gets him, like, he did not look like he wanted to be there. He looked fucking miserable. And I just thought that was a bad recipe for him. Just him walking out, I just had just bad juju written all over him. And going against a guy like Khalil Roundtree, who's just, he's going to go out there and he's going to try and take your fucking head off. So, phenomenal performance by Khalil Roundtree. He called out for a main event for his next fight. I hope he gets it. I'm not sure if he's going to get it because he's not ranked, which is strange. I just don't know, man. Is he ranked? He might be ranked. But I would like to see Khalil get a 5-rounder. I don't know by who. I'd like to see him fight Kutalaba again for whatever fucking reason. I'd like to see him get that one back. But Khalil, if he's smart and he fights the right guys, you can see him in a top 10, top 7 position in the next year and a half. So Khalil just stays just straight. If he just keeps his shit together and just fights smart, stays healthy, Khalil can be a top 5 contender. He can be a contender, title contender. If he just is just able to just stay on and not just be so inconsistent with some of his performances and not just be so wild. If he can just control that chaos just a little bit, we can see a title contender. Phenomenal performance though. But Chris Daukaus, again, take some time off. If you want to stay at 205, if you really do want to stay fighting, take some time off. Diet correctly so you don't look like you want to hang yourself the next time you're walking out there. But I can't wait to see what you're going to do also moving forward. If you fight or if you go back to being a police officer. Either way, you're a winner, man. Moving on, Yasmin Lucindo finishes Polyana Viana Lucindo, 21 years old, man. She just looks good, confident, strong everywhere, good striking, good grappling. She just looked good, man. You know, against a girl like Polyana Viana, what frustrates me so much, she's talking about before the fight about how she's not allowed to be walking out doing like these anime like walkouts or whatever. Like, worry about getting your win. Like, you're over there worrying about your walkout and how you look rather than going out there and putting on good performances within the cage. You're worrying about your walkout to the cage. And I think that if you get yourself in a position like Israel Adesanya, they let him do those types of things because A, he's a champion, he's a draw, he's earned it, and he's undeniable. Like, she's not in a position where she can make calls like that, and I think that she's not focused enough in the fight game enough to be like that. And I think that's a lot. And I'm not shitting on women's MMA, but like I see that with some of these girls like Juliana Miller, I want to talk about also, and but that'll be a little later. But it's just like these girls, they're just not focused, and you see that. I guess not girls, but I think that's being a little wrong. But you just see some of these people, they're more focused on the attention than they are actually going out there and fighting. And I think that was the case with Polyana Viana. She's worried about all these other things than the opponent right in front of her. And it went to her detriment, and she got finished arm triangle choke. So after that, we had AJ Dobson defeating Tafan Njoukwi. I hope I said that correctly. In, you know, a back and forth performance, you know, both guys, it was very similar to the Cub Swanson fight where both guys really, they weren't landing these solid shots. You know, they were a little hesitant. You know, I found myself looking at my phone a lot and walking away from the fight while it was happening. But Dobson went out there, and every time that I was watching the fight, I saw Dobson winning the exchanges. And I saw Tafan just kind of being hesitant, just not really pulling the trigger. I didn't really see a huge sense of urgency by him. I saw somebody who just really I didn't see a sense of urgency. That's kind of what I was seeing in the fight. So I'm not going to argue with that decision by any means. I hope AJ Dobson gets a good opponent moving forward. You know, and after that, you had Josh Fremd defeating Jamie Pickett in just a wrestling dominant fight where Josh went out there and just utilizes wrestling, utilizes cage work, and just nullified the power and dangerousness of Jamie Pickett. And that's 4 in a row for Jamie. I was a little shocked to see either of these guys on the main card. You know, you would picture both these guys being like the first fight of the prelims. I was a little confused how they would headline a main card with Jamie Pickett and Josh Fremd. But kind of a boring performance. I really don't see either fighter really making a big push within the UFC anytime soon. Fremd, he's had some issues. He didn't really make weight. So, I don't know. There was nothing really to talk about after the fight. Jamie's lost 4 in a row. He's probably going to get cut. Josh hasn't really looked all that great anyways, especially against a guy like Jamie Pickett. He did what he had to do to win, though, and I guess congratulations for that. Next, we had Marcus McGee capitalizing in a second UFC fight, knocking out JP Bays, and with like just the meanest straight short right that just put him face down, ass up. As JP got up, like he was awake, but nothing else was there. Like he literally went face first right into the cage as he got up trying to protest. He just was almost sleeping against the cage. It was pretty tough to watch. And for JP, that's 4 in a row also for him within the UFC. He had the win on the Contender Series. But after that, all of his UFC fights he's lost, and he's been finished multiple times. So that's probably it for the JP Bays career within the UFC. But Marcus McGee, man, who's looked good. He's out of the MMA lab with Tim Welch and Sean O'Malley and all those guys. And for him to get his opportunity and capitalize on it again, the guy looks good. He looks sharp, athletic, 33 years old, still in his prime. I think he's like 8-1 now. And I think that they're probably going to give him a good opponent, probably like a Cody Durden, maybe the guy who fought Cody Durden. Jake Hadley. I can see him fighting Jake Hadley next. That's probably what I'm going to see with Marcus McGee next. I'd like to see him fight Jake Hadley. That would be a really good fight. But Marcus looks good, looks sharp, athletic. He's got some crisp striking, clearly shows he's got the power too. 2 finishes in a row for Marcus McGee. Congratulations, my man. Next up, we had Terrence McKinney taking out Mike Breeden rather quickly in a fight where Lando Venata was supposed to be fighting Mike Breeden, but had to pull out, I think, about a week ago. I'm not sure what the injury was, but it was pretty unfortunate to see Lando. I'm a big fan of Lando. I've been watching the guy since his UFC debut against Tony Ferguson. Always tune in when Lando fights, so it always sucks when it doesn't go his way, especially when he isn't even able to make it to the fight. So that was pretty upsetting. So Lando, I hope that you rest up, heal up, and get a good matchup moving forward. But Terrence went out there and just would not be denied. Who fought most recently, I think it was like a month ago, got finished, and before that, got finished before that. I mean, was that flying knee against Bonfim? You know, it just Terrence has had the highs and lows in his very short UFC career so far. I mean, one of the fastest knockouts in UFC history, then going out and getting finished by Drew Dober. And then when he finishes guys, he looks unstoppable. But then you see the gas tank dwindle where he goes and tries to get that finish, and when he doesn't get it, when he wants it, you see that gas tank and you see that confidence, you see him get caught. I mean, he's been knocked out 4 times already, like cold in his career. So for him to bounce back like this was nice. I did think it was a bit of an early stoppage, but Mike wasn't really doing all that much to make an argument for him. I'm one of those guys where when I see a knockout, he didn't even go down. Yeah, he really wasn't answering much, but you didn't even see him get knocked down. So I thought it was a little early. I would like to see a little bit more. I would have liked to see a legitimate finish, but Terrence, man, he was looking so good, and Mike really wasn't showing much to begin with in those minute and 25 seconds. But again, it was minute 25 seconds. Who knows what could have happened, especially in MMA. I would have liked to see a little bit further. I would have liked to see if Breeden was going to get put out or not. Maybe that's just me being a sick fuck. I'm not sure. But nonetheless, phenomenal performance by Terrence McKinney. Back in the win column for him. So hopefully he takes some time off now and sets up a good game plan for himself moving forward. Next up, we hit in featherweight division. We had Isaac Dolgarian making his UFC debut against Francis Marshall and winning in the first round, decisive TKO, where he was able to get it to the ground and just dominate ground and pound and just punished Francis Marshall into submission, basically, via TKO punches. But you just saw him, he just wouldn't be denied. He was on him. Man, just the sense of urgency. That's what I'd like to see with a lot of these fighters. These guys who, like, they want to go for the finish. They're searching for the finish. They're not going out there and trying to points or any of that. He wants to go out there and make a name for himself. And I know that he was talking about how he didn't get that Nelk Boys contract because of him not being able to fight and all this and that. So I'm happy he was able to go out there, take the monkey off his back a little bit, especially against a super solid prospect like Francis Marshall. So great fight, great performance. Love to see what he's going to do moving forward. We now have a really nice prospect in the featherweight division in Isaac Dolgarian. So congratulations, sir, and Francis Marshall. Hey, man, you're young, you're hungry, you're going to be back. This is not a loss. This is just a learning lesson. You're going to be a killer moving forward, so don't let this dwindle your confidence. This is MMA, and not everybody wins. Very rare the guys ever go out undefeated, if ever. You know. After that, we had Martin Buday versus Josh Parisian. I missed this fight, so I can't really say much about it. I watched about 37 seconds of it. I was at work. But from what I did see, Buday was just absolutely lighting Parisian up. So Buday has looked good. I saw his last performance. I forgot who it was against, but the guy looks good. He looks better. He doesn't look great physically, but it's heavyweight. You don't have to look good physically. So he's got great striking, great wrestling, obviously has the submission skills, got the Kimura, so he can go out there and bully guys, and just he's got crisp boxing. So I'm excited to see what the guy's going to do moving forward. And Josh Parisian, I think he's getting up there now a little bit in age, so I'm not really sure what's going to happen with Josh moving forward, but he's a tough guy, especially at heavyweight. He can go out there and whoever he's going to fight, they're going to have to earn it. Like, he's not going to give them an easy victory. He's tough. He's got heart. He's got grit. So Josh Parisian, I'm not sure what's going to happen with him moving forward. But I hope he fights again, personally. I like the guy. I think he's got a good attitude as well. Next up, we had Jacqueline Amarim defeated Montserrat Ruiz. This is another fight. I kind of missed, so I'm not really able to talk too much on it. Actually, pretty much the rest of this card I was at work. Um, I remember the Damon Blackshear. He just absolutely had no respect for Jose Johnson and just absolutely ran through him. With the twister submission. That's right. Yes, where he threw that elbow and just completely exposed the whole twister position. He was able to capitalize for the third twister submission in UFC history. The first, obviously, being Korean Zombie. The second, Bryce Thug Nasty Mitchell a couple years ago. And now we had Damon Blackshear with the twister. That was pretty cool to see. Pretty rare. So I can't wait to see what he's going to do moving forward. We got a new name over here in the bantamweight division, Damon Blackshear. So Twister obviously got some slick submission skills. Can't wait to see what you're going to do moving forward, sir. And Jose Johnson, 3 minutes. We didn't really get to see a whole lot of you, so I'm sure you're going to get another fight. And if you do, I can't wait to see what you're going to do moving forward. Last but not least, we had Luana Santos defeating Juliana Miller. And this is kind of where I was talking about earlier with the Polyana Viana situation, where you see... I mean, hey, man, you want to be the best in the world, cool, but you're going to have to make some sacrifices within your life. Stop making posts of you under waterfalls. Stop. Go train. You talked about how you were better in everything. You didn't fight that long ago. How much could you have really improved in every aspect? Especially when most of what you do on social media, it's just... You seem distracted and you don't seem all in. And it's no disrespect because you have all the talent in the world and you showed that in your fight on The Ultimate Fighter. I mean, you won the whole damn tournament. So it showed when you were able to go away for a little bit, you were able to focus. And I think that needs to be what happens moving forward. If you want to be the best in the world, you want to prove that you're the best in the world, you need to make some sacrifices and you need to go hide in a hole, not worry about any sort of attention. If you really want to go out and be the best in the world, go show it. And go put the work in. And don't worry about the socials. You know, I think that you see that a lot with these up-and-comers where they're so worried about their social media. You know, go make a name for yourself in the fight world and then start to talk some shit like Colby did. Like, nobody likes what Colby does, but honestly, he had to go out there and put on some good performances. They were boring, but he made a name for himself within the UFC, and then he's like, all right, now I got to up my shit talk. And he did, and made a whole new career for himself, but he was already proving it with his fighting, and then he added the words onto it later, added the attention onto it later. So you want to go out there and you want to do the whole OnlyFans thing, and you want to go out there, go fight first and earn it, and then get your attention, right? If you want to be a fighter. But if you want to go out there and you want to be an influencer, cool, do your thing, and you know, you're probably not going to make it within the UFC. But without great results does not come great sacrifices. But that's pretty much my thoughts on the entire fight card, guys. That's a wrap on Luque versus Dos Anjos. Guys, let me know in the comment section what you guys think. And please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to continue getting more MMA content by yours truly. Mr. Mustache, MMA News out. Let's fucking go, fight fans.